Hello and welcome to Terror Talk on the Terror Express. I'm Jason Bradford, and today we are talking to one of our horror enthusiasts and horror fans who has a networking company called Terror 81. Many of you may know him from his YouTube channel as Father Mahoney. Tonight we welcome Rob Mahoney to Terror Talk. Hello, Rob. How are you on this new year?
Good, Jason. How you been doing this new year?
Doing very well as well here. So, listeners, tonight, Rob and I are going to discuss if you're a fan of Friday the 13th, if you're a fan of horror in general, if you're a fan of the Evil Dead or any of these lines of films here, I think you're going to love this episode. We're going to be talking about Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. So, Rob, I asked my guests to come on Terror Talk to choose the title that they want to talk about, one of their favorite horror films. Why Jason Goes to Hell? Why are we talking about that tonight?
I thought it was a great departure from what Adam Marcus used to refer to as the run-of-the-mill Jason films.
Hmm.
Like when he took over, he told them, "Is there any limits that I can go beyond? Like, does it have to be a straight Friday the 13th film?" And when he kind of got the green light, he's like, "I want to do something different." And I think that's what attracted me to this movie is it wasn't your typical Friday the 13th where people show up, Jason kills them one by one, and you have the heroine at the end saving the day.
Right.
I love the idea that Adam took this. Can I tell a quick story?
Oh, sure, absolutely. This is your
So
episode. You do this. Yeah.
I actually went to see this at the theater. The
Hmm.
last movie I saw before this at the theater was Part Seven, which I thought Part Seven was a little departure from the. But going back to Jason Goes to Hell is I'm sitting there in the theater and like less than 10 minutes into the film, when they blow Jason up, I sat there with my mouth like wide open, like we still have like an hour and 20 minutes to go. How do you blow up Jason in a movie? So I sat there with intrigue, like figuring out like what's gonna happen. And when I saw what was happening, I was like, wow, this is pretty fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
when people talk about Jason Go to Hell, they always seem to compare it to Season of the Witch because, when Halloween did Season of the Witch, it was a clear departure from one and two. But I
Hmm.
don't think that this is anything like Season of the Witch. Nothing against Season of the Witch. I love that movie, but I thought that they did a great justice with this movie as far as Jason goes, kind of the mythology behind Jason.
Yeah. Yeah. I like a lot of the things that Adam added to it. And that's why I had mentioned Evil Dead, because, Jason's essentially in this film a deadite. That's if there's
Yeah.
a one scene toward the end of the movie in the third act, you literally see the Necronomicon is sitting
Yes.
there in the Voorhees house.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Evil Dead, and I think I
Hmm.
marked out when I saw the Necronomicon
I
there.
did too.
I
I did.
yelled in the theater.
I did too. I was like,
Yeah,
so that fucking explains it. Jason's a deadite. That's how he's doing what he's doing. It makes
yeah,
sense.
that's
Total
how
sense.
like you can't kill him. You can't kill him
Right,
because
right.
he's not a person. He's more of an entity, like a dead like you said.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's great. And I love that. And I also like the fact that and I didn't mention the Nightmare on Elm Street fans. This is also where we get the promise of that crossover with, the glove coming up at the end and grabbing the
Yes,
mask. And then it was a 10-year promise, but we eventually got to see that promise come to fruition. So that
yes.
was
I
that
was
was
going to
great.
mention that too. Like I'm glad that you mentioned that because you know it gave that pathway to the crossover at the end.
Hmm.
Like everybody and their mother thought the movie was over, and then also you see the glove come up, and I
Hmm.
remember that the whole theater stood up and cheered.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
there, to this day, anytime anybody that I'm around who hasn't seen a Friday the 13th film, if I choose to be their friend, because that's a good reason not to be somebody's friend. If you've never seen the Friday the 13th films, get out of my sight. But
Yeah.
if I'm feeling generous, I'm like, okay, I'm going to show you one scene from one Friday the 13th film. It's going to be the end of Jason Goes to Hell. You got to see the glove, grab the mask.
Yeah.
It also holds one of my favorite kills with Debbie in the tent with
Yes.
the unrated version.
The
Her
unrated version, definitely.
so brutal, so my jaw fell in my popcorn bucket
Yeah.
when I saw that. Now, obviously, I didn't see that at the theater, but when I was at home watching that for the first time, I was speechless. I still remember to this day the first time I saw that scene, my jaw
Yeah.
dropped. Yeah, it was fantastic.
And you have a lot of likable characters in this movie too. You know,
Hmm.
you have Steven Steven you have to love in this movie because he
Yes.
plays the ex-boyfriend who really
Hmm.
wants to make things right. And when the scene when he gets to see his baby for the first time, like that really touches you.
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
um
it
so it's
does.
like, and Jessica Kimball, who plays, the overprotective mom, but you really care about her because, inside, she still loves Steven. So,
Yes, and I like the fact too, and I know you most likely know this fact, but to the listeners who are listening to this who may not know, Stephen Freeman was written originally to be Tommy Jarvis. So his
yeah,
his character was supposed to be Tommy Jarvis, but obviously Paramount wouldn't give any rights to New Line except for Jason Voorhees, so they couldn't use Tommy in this, unfortunately. But
yeah.
it was still a wild ride, and it was still enjoyable, and like you said, it had some great characters in there. Joey B is one of my all-time favorite characters in the franchise,
Yes.
and so is Vicky. I love Vicky.
Vicky is
Every
the hero that we all needed because she fights
Yes,
so hard. She fights so
yes.
hard.
Yes, absolutely. And I always see her death as that one death. Every installment has that one girl that you're like, damn, why didn't she make it? I really love this character. And Vicky for me was the Jason Goes to Hell character
Yes.
that could have been the final girl, and I would have been happy with that.
Yeah, I would have been happy too.
Yeah. So when you first saw the unrated version compared to the theatrical version, you said you had seen it at the theater when it came out. What was your reaction to all the added scenes that you hadn't seen at the theater?
Oh man, it was great. The the added features obviously added to it, but I could also see why they couldn't put it on the big screen because what Hollywood allows to be shown on the big screen is always like a watered down version, I guess
Hmm.
that you could say. But
Yeah.
when I saw the unrated version, I was just like, man, I wish I got to see this at the theater.
Yeah.
That, like you said, that tent scene is it's a great scene edited, but
Hmm.
man, is it a fantastic scene unedited.
Yes, it really is. And I always thought that the gentleman that she was with, and I can't remember his character's name because I don't even know if they mention it in the movie. But I always thought they're just going to show his death scene. But obviously, what we see is what we get. There was no on-screen kill with him, just a scream.
Yeah.
But now, I were you aware that the original that Creighton Duke, the role of Creighton Duke, was auditioned for by Tony Todd, who's famous for Candyman.
I've heard that, but I'm kind of glad they went with Stephen Williams because I'm an old Stephen Williams fan back in
Yeah.
uh, back in the 21 Jump Street days, and also a lot of people forget he was in Missing Action too.
Yeah.
He played Nestor, the
He
the
was all
traitor.
he was also in Twilight Zone the movie. A lot of people don't know
Yeah,
that. I didn't know that. I was watching Twilight Zone the movie a few months ago. I'm like,
yeah,
oh
he's in
wow,
the
holy shit,
racial.
that's
He's
Stephen Williams.
Yeah, he's in the first story with the guy who's
Hmm.
very racial. Yeah,
Yes, yes, absolutely. Which was Jennifer Jason Leigh's father, who was killed filming that
yeah.
movie, that role with a couple of the kids that were on set tragically. But yeah, can you imagine how much different Jason Goes to Hell would have been had we had John DeLeMay playing Thomas, or if we had Stephen Williams not in the film, but we had Tony Todd. And there's also I don't know how accurate this information is, but I hear that Cunningham actually reshot a lot of the film himself. So I don't know how much is Adams and how much is Sean's, but
Well,
what do
I
you think
remember.
would be different?
I don't think it. I mean, the addition of Tony Todd. I mean, Tony Todd can play any role, so
Hmm.
I don't think I would have been too mad. Not because he wouldn't even known Stephen Williams would have been in at that point. So, but as far as the Tommy character, I kind of glad that they didn't go into that because for me, Tommy is always Tom Matthews, and
Yeah,
I don't know if they would have got Tom Matthews to play the role.
right.
So, I mean, I know the Tommy character has been played by Feldman. He's been played by oh, what's his name in part five? Uh,
It's funny because his name eludes me, which is terrible
yeah,
because he's my favorite Tommy.
yeah, he is my
Part
favorite
part
Tommy. But
part five is my yeah.
and I know like a fourth different Tommy probably wouldn't have been a far stretch because they've already done it three times.
Right,
But,
right.
I did like Tom Matthews' portrayal as it, and I
Yeah,
can't
I think
see.
his is the most iconic Tommy.
Yeah. but I can't see that character of Stephen. Well, now it's called Stephen Freeman, but he seems more toned down than what I would remember Tommy as. He's more of like a part 5 Tommy, but
Yeah.
a little bit more talkative. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, you talked about going and seeing this movie in the beginning, the 10 minutes, Jason being blown up. My experience, the first time I saw this in the theater was, well, first let me mention part 8. I actually like part 8. I enjoy part 8. I know it's not a fan favorite, but it's fun. It's cheese.
It
But
is.
I really miss Manfredini's score in part 8. So when the beginning of part 9 came on and they played the classic Friday the 13th
Oh
score,
yeah.
I remember I looked over to my then girlfriend who I just started dating not even a year earlier, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be so good. They have Harry Manfredini's classic music in this movie." And then
Yeah.
after they blew up Jason, everything changed.
Yeah.
it,
I
it's
remember
like,
that
oh
scene
man,
too.
they ripped that rug out from under me, and I was really disappointed in the music.
The scene you're talking about is when you see Agent Marcus driving to the
Yes,
cabin. Yes, and
yes, and the light
when
bulbs.
she
Yeah,
passes the Crystal Lake sign, you hear that
yes,
classic score.
yes.
Yes,
That
yes,
was it. I thought, oh, this is fantastic. Now, obviously, we still have Harry Manfredini did the score for Jason Goes to Hell. It was completely different, and it wasn't the classic Friday. But
yeah.
if there was one thing that wasn't in part 9 or Jason Goes to Hell that could have been, what would you have liked to have seen in it?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, like maybe a little bit more of Jason. I
Yes,
mean, I
me
know
too.
we get him in the beginning, and then we get him like after the with the transformation where he jumps
Mhm.
into a Voorhees' body. But I think maybe another 10-15 minutes of Jason couldn't have hurt. But I
Yeah,
knew
I
what Adam
agree.
was going for. He was going for that suspense of when is Jason coming back? When is Jason coming back? And he kind of kept you on the seat a few times, especially with the scene when you see the body going after little baby Stephanie. And I told Adam, I'm like, man, you're a risk taker. You, you're gonna go after a little baby. But that's what I also credit Adam for is he wasn't afraid to push the envelope. He
Yeah,
wasn't afraid to push that envelope of saying, "I'll do this to shock the audience." And
right.
like I said, when that body walks over to baby Stephanie, I was like, "You can't do that to a baby."
Now, so talking about shocking the audience, Erin Gray, who I would like to wish a belated happy birthday. Her birthday was just a couple of days
Yes,
ago.
yes. Happy birthday.
Um, yes, I know her character Diana. She said when she saw it on the big screen and she saw that Jason demon go
Yeah,
between Diana's legs and up inside her, she did
yeah,
not know they were going to do that, and she was
yeah,
very offended by that.
yeah. She was.
But
I think even
that's what these
remember when
movies do, though. They
yeah
shock
remember
and offend.
yeah remember when Adam and Allie used to do the Facebook lives.
Yes.
Someone had asked him about that, and he actually admitted. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Aaron Gray wasn't too happy with us after that."
No, no. I mean, and I can't really blame her. I mean, that was kind of that could be very what's the word I'm looking for? Offensive
Yeah. Well,
to say
because
the least.
a lot of people saw Erin as like this model of beauty, like the stuff that
Buck
she's done in the
Rogers.
past. Buck
Yeah.
Rogers,
Yeah.
Silver Spoons,
Yes, I
so
had a crush on her in Silver Spoons.
me too. And so
Perfect
like,
girlfriend.
yeah. But here's the thing: is like, so you're gonna take that aspect of her and turn her into basically like a portal for Jesus.
Yes. And it
So
and it wasn't even Aaron Gray that was the portal. It was the dead Aaron Gray. So
yeah,
you
the
not
dead
only
Aaron
you
Gray.
see the portal that way, but she's dead, and it's like a double whammy.
Yeah. But I going back to what you said about Creighton Duke, I thought Creighton Duke's character was genius.
Hmm.
Uh, in the beginning, I kept figuring like how does Jason know? Like how does he know Jason? Like because
Right.
obviously
Right.
you don't hear any mention of him through the whole series. But
No,
y-
I think Adam's backstory to Creighton Duke was his girlfriend was killed on the lake, and Creighton witnessed it and vowed vengeance or something. So he studied
yeah,
up on Jason or something like that. I think they're making a Creighton Duke movie too, also with Stephen Williams, from what I hear. I
that's what
think
I
I
hear
heard
too.
Adam say that. Is that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Adam
I
did
even
say
heard
that.
Adam say it. Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit before we end this episode here, because with the Terror Express, Express is it's an express time. I try and keep all of my episodes here of Terror Talk 20 minutes or less. So let's
Okay.
talk a little bit about your Terra 81 and your networking group. How did that come about, and what does that do?
Well, for years I've been doing promoting for 10 years now. It's actually 2023 is my 10th year anniversary of promoting films. But the idea came from I had a talk with a friend of mine who was like, this is sometimes this can be stale. We should do something different. And I kind of came with the idea of let's promote everything. Like, let's just give love to not just horror movies, but let's give love to musicians out there. Let's give love to podcasters out there like yourself. Let's give YouTubers out there. Let's build a bridge to have everything getting promoted, lifting everybody up.
That's
So
great.
the Terra name came from I kept thinking of something that would scare people, like scare, horror, and I was like, no, terror. Like everybody's afraid of being terrorized.
Right,
So
right.
81 came from my favorite year of horror. So that's
Yeah,
how I came up with the
you
name.
get your first Friday the 13th sequel. Part two was one of my favorites for
Yes,
many years.
yes. It
Um,
was the first movie I actually saw of the Friday the 13th series was part
Mine
two.
too. Mine too. It scared the shit out of me. So
Yeah.
you said 1981 was your favorite year for horror movie. Is
Yeah.
that when you fell in love with horror movie? When did you fall in love with horror movie and why?
Well, actually, the first horror movie I saw was the original Halloween. I saw it on beta way before
Hmm.
VHS.
You're
Me,
dating us here.
yeah, me
You're
and my
dating us.
sister, me and my sister used to always try to watch what the adults were watching, and I
Mm,
kept hearing the Michael music in my other room. So I was like, "What's going on in the other room?" So we used to cut a little hole in the sheet because they would put a sheet in front of the hallway so we couldn't watch what they were watching. So I poked a little hole, and I came to the scene when, Michael storms into the closet trying to attack Jamie
mm-hmm.
Lee, and I remember this, I jumped and I made like a scream sound. Of course, I got caught, but that was the first movie I went over to my sister's house, and my sister was like, "I don't care what you watch." So I was like, "Do you have like that Halloween movie?" So I sat down and watched it, and I absolutely fell in love with the
Yeah.
horror at that moment.
And Halloween, the original Halloween is proof that you don't need any gore in a horror movie to be absolutely terrifying.
Exactly.
There's hardly any blood in it at all, and it is so scary because of the chase scenes and the suspense and the buildups and the lighting and the mood and the music. All of that is just what makes it
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out before we end the episode?
Yeah. I've been helping this independent actress. Her name is Hillary Torrey, and
Hi,
she.
Hillary.
Hi, Hillary, and she's been in the business for a while, but she had an incident a while ago medically, and
Oh,
so she's trying to get back into the game again. So I've been trying to help her along.
oh,
And
best
I
well
also like,
wishes to Tori.
yes, Tori,
Yeah.
she's great. And my shout out to my own channel. You said that you watch my YouTube channel, Mahoney
Hmm.
Massacre.
Mahonia
I've been,
Massacre.
yeah, I've been trying to take a turn with that a little bit. I still do horror movies, but I've been doing like more uplifting, feel good videos lately. And
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
I think that was my New Year's resolution was to take 2003 with more positivity.
And you can't get more fabulous than that. That's just a great way to begin the year and stay on that path. So,
Yeah.
well, Rob, I thank you so much for coming on to the Tarot Talk and talking about Jason Goes to Hell and all things Final
Oh,
Friday.
oh, can I throw one more shout out?
Oh, absolutely.
Adam Marcus, you're the bomb. So, all
Adam
right.
Marcus, yes, thank you for giving us one of the most controversial installments, movies that one of the movies that people love and people hate and people love to hate and people
Yeah.
just, it's a wild ride, Adam. So thank you for that.
It's a mark of a good director to be loved and hated at the same time.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you and have a great night and try and stay warm out there in your 14-degree weather.
All right. Thanks, Jason, for having me.
Absolutely.
Bye.